I couldn't quite wrap my head around the story. I said, what's the story? A Gunda wanting to be a doctor. I mean, come on. And it didn't work. Then the title didn't work for me. And the character laughs throughout the movie. And everything was wrong for me. So this doesn't wash, man. I probably had a lot of learning disabilities. I still do.
You had dyslexia, right?
Yeah, and this calculated numbers don't get into my head. And I could do some strange things. My memory is eidetic. I can remember every single thing that happened today. 20 years down. I was expecting people to come up to me and say, well done. But for some strange reason, nobody came and even shook my hand. Nobody mentioned a word. It was just as if, were you in the movie? And then the reviews kind of ignored me. I'd like to do a few films as writer and director. And then set up some kind of movement that writing becomes a very, very important aspect. It's already underway, but now structure it in a big way. Big way. So we train not writers, we train writing teachers and have a proper structured school.
One myth about the Mumbai film industry that you want to bust. Hey everyone, this is the India Story, and I have with me this week one of the most talented, multifaceted personalities I've ever had the pleasure of talking to on the India Story. And you're looking around trying to figure out whom am I referring to.
Yeah.
And it is Boman Irani. It's
Thank you so
an
much.
absolute pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
And I know I have promised you that I'm not going to spend hours and hours and hours discussing your childhood and all the difficulties around that.
Yeah,
Because
I had a good childhood. Let's put it that way.
that happens in all
Otherwise,
the
we
interviews.
go on and all thinking that our wounds and our scars and our what. No, get on with it, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to immediately break my promise and I'm going to start off by asking you about your childhood. No, actually, okay, just one question. Looking back at that Boman Irani selling potato chips, if you had to go back to him and tell him about the life journey that lay ahead of him, what would you say to him?
I would think that in his head he had figured out that I don't know how long I'll be selling potato chips, but eventually I would be in the movies or on stage. He knew that. It just took me time. That's it. Because while I was selling potato chips, while I was frying potato chips, while I was selling all kinds of knickknacks across a counter in a little shop in Grant Road, I knew for a fact that under the table I was reading books on acting, books on screenplay, books on direction. And I would just read and then sometimes go and rehearse for hours without even going to a producer. Someday it will be handy because it was like a hobby at that point. I never thought I'm going to make it a career straight off. When I got the opportunity to do something creative, I think I got myself a camera and I started doing sports photography. And the sports photography was something, but you can't make money in sports photography. I used to contribute to magazines and newspapers. And you get 50 rupees, 100 rupees, and that's not going to run your show. And enough reason to say that I'm secure enough to leave the wafer shop or hand it over to someone to run and become a sports photographer. But I love sports photography. It combined photography and sports, another of my favorites. But when I started doing advertising photography, what happened was, it was bound to happen that I got onto the stage because a lot of advertising folks were, like an Alec, were doing theater over the weekends. So over the weekends, I was doing plays. And I think it'd be remiss if I did not mention our dear friend Shamak Davar, who insisted, after doing his portfolio with me, to go and audition for Alec Padamsee. So that put me on stage, and for some strange reason, I thought I always belonged on stage. So it became very easy, and all that I had studied, worked on, rehearsed, somehow, your first play. How long have I mean, it's your first place? I said, no, I've been doing acting for a long time. Where? I said, in my home under the galla. This is the galla. Under the galla, I would be reading writing monologues, things like that. Yeah.
So that was always your dream and your passion. But when you were selling chips, or when you were doing, being a waiter, when doing other stuff, did you always tell yourself that I'm marking time till I get that break? Or no?
No, not even that. No.
Then what was
marking time? Kinda, but I'm waiting for that day. No, it was never like that. It would be that someday this ship is going to go to the shores of a movie set. I knew it.
A lot of people have those dreams when they are kids, when they are teenagers, when they are in their 20s, and they say, someday I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it in Mumbai. But it did happen for you much, much, much later. And you seem to be always doing things slightly. Or
at the right time.
Okay, let's dwell on that. Why do you think it was the right time?
Think about it. So my first commercial film. So I did a couple of English films. Let's Talk, Everyone Says I'm Fine. And then Munna Bhai MBBS turned out to be my first commercial film in Hindi. Proper Hindi Bollywood film. And I'm wondering if I was 5 years younger or 10 years younger, would it have the same impactful debut? Maybe not. What kind of roles would I have gotten 10 years before that? I was 44 when I did Munna Bhai. So 34, what would I be doing? I don't know. And maybe would I be ready? Theatre readied me. So I really don't feel it came much later. I think it came at the right time. This is my opinion.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to Munna Bhai, because you're right. 44 when you started acting, 65 when you started directing, which I am going to talk to you about at some length. I'm really curious to know what you have in mind when you're 85 and 105, because there will be some interesting stories, no doubt, that'll emerge from that.
Sure.
But in a sense, this is one of those funny stories of when you finally get into films. It's people, it's almost like an overnight success, because one of your first films was such a smash blockbuster. And the minute people saw you on screen in Munna Bhai, they said, oh my God, this person was made for the big screen. I mean, I think that's the way I reacted when I saw you the first time.
But that's simply because in many ways, I was practicing to be an actor for a long, long time. And then theatre came along. And in theatre, my first play was a 3-minute part in Alex Roshni. It was a 3-minute part, and suddenly everybody seems to be clapping. That's not bad, okay? And then my next play was a lead role with the great Sudhir Joshi from Marathi theatre. And we did a play called I'm Not Bajirao, which ran for 10 years. And then it was like, this guy's been always around. I think the theatre discipline and rubbing shoulders with a doyen of theatre, of Marathi theatre, Sudhir Joshi, and he would, just make those little adjustments and say, at this point, just that much. At this point, that's very nice what you're doing. That was nice. You got that moment, you covered up. I'm learning in front of a live audience. There can be no better training for a young actor, or for that matter, anyone who wants to do anything in the performing arts, directors, whatever, to do a stint in theatre.
Which is the most interesting role you ever did in theatre? Gandhi?
I'm Not Bajirao.
Bajirao.
And Gandhi, of course. And I'll tell you why it was interesting.
You had to lose 30 kilos for starters. How on earth did you do that?
Yeah.
You had your ribs showing in that.
Yeah. And I had decided that when I'm sitting there with the charkha, and if by chance, while sitting down, the shawl fell off, I should not be in a hurry to cover myself. Let it fall and cover myself slowly again. And I had to, till my ribs don't show, I'm not going on the stage. But that's external, Vikram. I think those are externals that people say, you covered that ground, you've nailed the role. You haven't. So Sudhir Joshi had cracked, it frightened me actually. It was too funny. He said, Acha. I said, Sudhir Dada, I'm getting this very sheepishly. I'm getting this role. Which Gandhi? Do. If you must do everything, you must do. Karo, yeah. Which Gandhi? So I said, Mahatma Gandhi. Pagal ho gaya, tu pagal ho gaya.
Which
Now-
Gandhi did he think it was?
He was pulling my leg, but he did say, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Frontier Gandhi. So he says, I thought Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. And now I am panicking. I said, Sudhir, what are you saying? He's saying, no, you got to do it, man. He says, look, I can see you're going to lose weight, and you will. You will get the walk, you'll get the talk, you'll get the stance, you'll get this posture, you'll do everything. You'll do the charka. You will be visual, and you'll beat the stereotype to say, you got to look like Gandhi. And I did strangely look like Gandhi. I looked like Gandhiji. But he said, if you don't find the man's soul or his worldview or his belief systems, if you're not going to work on that, then you're not even an actor, you're an imitator. You're a mimicry artist. That's training and some kind of philosophical teaching that puts you straight. Tell any actor this, and they'll start searching for something. What does this guy want? What's he all about? What drove him? What were his weaknesses? What were his wounds? And then you start learning a lot more about human beings and the human condition. That was the most challenging role, just by the way.
Right. So moving from there then to Asthana and all the other great roles. Tell us about Munna Bhai. How did it come about? And of course, that association with Rajkumar Hirani lasted a long time.
So, first of all, thank you, Feroz Khan, for having the guts to cast me as Gandhi. Really.
Yeah.
Amazing guy. But then, it was before we get to Raju Hirani, we had Ram Madhwani, who wanted to make an experimental film. We'll make it with two cameras, handy cam, and we'll shoot it in 7 days, and we'll improvise, and we'll write it ourselves. And this went on for a year and a half for a film that was never meant to be released. It's Vikram Mathani. Saying, why are we doing all this? For what? He's saying, we've got to do it because our names are going to be on it. So you got to work very, very hard. I said, okay, great. We shot Let's Talk in a week in one house. And it was never meant to be released. However, Vinod Chopra saw scenes. And he said, who is this guy? So, saying, send him to me. Hindi kaise bolta hai? Parsi hai, lekin seekhega. And he kind of gave me 2 lakhs on the spot. I said, what for? He's saying, for मेरी अगली कहानी के लिए, मेरी अगली पिक्चर के लिए. अगली पिक्चर कौन सी आपकी? मेरे पास पिक्चर ही नहीं है, मेरे पास पिक्चर नहीं. I'm saying, what's with this guy? But 8 months later, he did come back and he said, I've got a picture for you. And that was Munna Bhai MBBS. And I couldn't quite wrap my head around the story. I said, what's the story? A gunda wanting to be a doctor. I mean, come on. And it didn't work. Then the title didn't work for me. And the character laughs throughout the movie. And everything was wrong for me. Saying, this doesn't wash, man. Saying, go meet Raju. I said, oh, so you're not going to direct the movie? Who's Raju? So I said, okay, we'll go meet Raju. Raju is the same guy you see today. He was the same 25 years old. He was there. And, it's so nice you're doing that. I said, this guy, I don't think he's such a genial, nice, good. How's he going to scream
What's
at
wrong
someone?
with being genial and nice?
Director, little.
You're not a genial and nice director.
I am genial and nice.
Okay. Then.
But for first time you see a director using it. And then he told me the story, Vikram. He took me through the paces and the beats of the story, of what the story stood for, what it meant to him, he was using the medical profession as a way to reach the heart, basically.
Yeah.
It's not about a hospital. It's about what is humanity in our lives. How do we identify it and how can we apply it in everything we do? And Raju, being the nice guy, genial and nice plus wonderful human being, I said, this guy is the man you got to respect because he's taking a big risk here. Nobody backed that story. Nobody backed it.
Nobody may have backed the story initially, but were you surprised by the reaction, not just to the film, but also to you? Because till that point, you hadn't tasted, that level of success. When you're suddenly walking into those movie halls and you're seeing the way people reacted
Right.
to that character, reacted to you, and there were other major, big stars in that film. So I know
Right.
Sanjay Dutt and others were there, but that reaction to you on screen, what did that feel like?
So you're never ready for it. You never quite, because and another thing, I'm very careful about dreaming too much about stardom, uh, you know, and awards and things like that. I think at that point of time, there was someone who had come to the set to interview Raju and me. So Raju saying, I can't do any interview. So you go and do the interview. So I said, what have I done to give an interview? Let the movie release, then we'll do an interview. So I was not prepared for that side, beg your pardon, that side of the world. But I was surprised that initially audiences did not go to see the movie. Shocked. I thought people will appreciate that's a beautiful film. But nobody went to see it. Empty theaters. Then it picked up. After word of mouth. All I knew that a good thing can never be put down. So I was not prepared to know that it will have this cult status over after 20 years, we'll be still talking about it. No way. I just wanted people to appreciate the movie in its day and time.
What was it about your relationship with Raju Hirani and, of course, his skill that the two of you have come together to create some of the most memorable characters and, of course, some of the most memorable films that we've ever known? Each of those films was great, but your character in each of those films is one of the defining features.
I'm going to give you a boring answer for that. There obviously has to be something that he sees in me and something that I see in him, and we get along well as human beings. We get along famously, right? But the boring answer is preparation. Nothing else. So 6 months before we are shooting, we're sitting and talking about this character from morning to night. What is it? What is it about him? What is it? And we'll go out of town. We'll stay somewhere. We'll sit. We'll make notes. We'll do videos. This is months before we go into the floors. So I think that in anything that I do, whenever I've prepped, it's worked. And Raju, the only difference is Raju gives himself and me the time to work on a character. That's it. It's not about chemistry, man.
If you had to swap places for a day
Right.
with one of those characters, Virus, Lucky Singh, Dr. Asthana, which character would you change places with for a day?
I would throttle each and every one of them.
Throttle yourself.
Yeah.
What would you do out of character if you were one of them?
No. I think they were very well done and conceived. Because I don't believe life is a race. Everything's a dialogue bolo. Life is a race. I don't believe life is a race. So it's amazing that line is so iconic, and people keep asking me to repeat it and perform it on wherever. I don't believe in Virus. I just believe in one thing, and that's what audiences believed as far as Virus was concerned, is that he's a despicable human being, hard, but wounded. And there is hope for him to do better in life. He's redeemable. And the moment you give an audience that this guy, he's not as bad as you think him, give him a chance. People love him because he gave the pen to Amir Khan, not because of the other stuff he did.
Yeah.
The other stuff he did, he had Ali hanging from the fan. I hated him for that. They hated him for every single thing that he did. They hated him that Raju Rastogi jumped off the balcony. They hated him for the coldness with which he operated. But they loved him because he redeemed himself. He gave that pen and said, you're the man. People love to see human beings change for the better.
Or in a sense, sometimes there's sympathy when they're shown to be vulnerable. As in your character in Eklavya, there was a certain element of vulnerability towards the very end, which may have been why people reacted.
Again, wounded.
Wounded, yeah.
That's so.
Without the hair, without the wig.
Wounded, scarred. And of course, it's so important to understand that no human being is perfect, and those characters are far from perfect. So the moment you see a vulnerable character, you say, I hope this guy. So when he gets killed in a clavier, you too feel bad for him.
So yes, that's a story.
He's not a evil villain.
Shades of grey. Even Lucky
Shades
Singh,
of-
there was some, there was tougher to
You're
find.
so right. You're picking up all the Lucky Singh is a con man.
Yeah.
And you dislike him for all the reasons someone would dislike another human being. But eventually his thinking was, my daughter, I hope she gets into a good home, and that's all he's interested in.
Yeah.
Even Khosla Ka Ghosla, Khurana, he just can't come to terms with his son who says, I don't want to sit next to you. He doesn't want to sit next to his own father, and he's saying, what the hell, man, I've done, all this is yours. He's saying, मेरे साथ बैठने को तैयार नहीं है वो. Now what is he doing to redeem himself? The exterior. Golf course, whatnot, golf. You just have to change as a human being. And he doesn't change, though.
Human beings have shades of grey in them, and perhaps it's because there were shades of grey in those characters.
Yes.
There was a resonance.
But I do believe all characters should have shades of grey, unless, of course, you're Mogambo.
Yeah.
Or, which is great. They're great villains, Mogambo or Gabbar Singh.
If you were in Rancho's class, if you were also in that class, would you personally have failed or passed?
I wouldn't get into that class.
Why not? I mean, if Rancho could get into it, I'm sure you could.
No, Rancho was a genius.
Yeah.
We're talking about Boman.
Yeah.
Boman getting into
Yeah.
There's no way I would make the grade. To get in, what would I have done? I would have been a backbencher as I was in school.
You were a backbencher in school.
Later on, in the early days, I was a frightened little kid. So you came back to the childhood story.
Okay,
I saw you coming back. Everybody's talking about my miserable childhood.
You were talking. You brought the subject
You're
up.
too smart for my.
You brought the subject up. I didn't. Okay, tell us about that frightened little child. Now that you've raised the subject, I haven't.
I was nervous. I probably had a lot of learning disabilities. I still do.
You had dyslexia, right?
Yeah, and this calculated numbers don't get into my head, and I could do some strange things. My memory is eidetic. I can remember every single thing that happened today. 20 years down there. I told you when we met last, we spoke about a mouth freshener. That's about 12 years ago.
You remembered that you'd walked into the office, the people you were with, and what we had specifically discussed. And I was shocked. I said, how on earth did he remember this? It was 14 years ago.
14 probably. Years ago. Yeah. I won't remember the numbers, so I said 12. I don't remember numbers, but I'll remember every other detail. I'll tell you where I was sitting, who was in who, and Deepika was, then Shah Rukh, and they were teasing me and saying, why are they teasing? Why are they giggling? I remember the interview, that show we did for Happy New Year, it was.
Right. I'm actually really impressed because I don't remember any of that.
No, I remember everything.
Obviously, your memory. But those, of course, were the days of television news, and you shouldn't be watching TV news anymore because that's bad for you. So, it's fine if we expunge that from our memory. I'm going to expunge that from all of our collective memories. All right, let's just move on then. So, based on that great memory of yours, which have been your best moments and your worst moments of your career so far? And you can't say I don't remember, having said what you've just said.
So I'll be honest with you. I'll be really honest. I was lying about my memory. I don't remember.
I knew there was something coming.
No, honestly, I'm a little boring when it comes to this kind of thing because I really don't have too many bad memories. I don't make a big deal of failure. In fact, one should make a big deal in a positive way. I think you just learn what the hell did it. What is it that I did that went wrong? Rather than saying, oh, they didn't promote the film well. What is it that I did that could have made an impact on the success of a particular film? I don't like blaming others. I like to take the blame on myself. So I don't have many bad memories, but let me get you one. It was a clavier. And of course, I fainted on the set in Mr. Bachchan's arms. And Mr. Bachchan is saying, my God, I said, no, Mr. Bachchan, I had really passed out. And he started screaming at everyone, come on, take care of this, because I died in his arms, right? And Mr. Bachchan and Jackie Shroff, they said, "What a wonderful performance!" And at the premiere, we're sitting in the same row. Ash is sitting there, Mr. Bachchan, and they look at me after a scene, and I said, "No, don't lie, okay? You're pretending. Don't pretend. Yeah, you're very good in the movie, okay?" I said, "Yeah." I learned a big lesson that day. When I stepped out in the interval, I was expecting people to come up to me and say, "Well done." But for some strange reason, Vikram, nobody came and even shook my hand. Nobody mentioned a word. It was just as if, "Were you in the movie?" And then the reviews kind of ignored me, let alone, there was no good review, there was no bad review. There was no review as far as I'm concerned. And that day I decided I'm never going to expect accolades ever again, because you're only setting yourself up for disappointment. Do the job, go home, go to sleep, think about the next job. Think about the next day of shooting. Think about the next character. Because that's not in your hands. Accolades.
But there were times when you get accolades when you weren't entirely expecting it, perhaps.
Sure. And there are times you do get accolades when you were expecting it. But then you don't set yourself up for that. You don't. Because it's like a guy standing in front of a goal, empty goal, just tap it in. He's looking at the morning headlines instead of the goal. 9 times out of 10, he's going to miss that goal. I think that's the difference between understanding the excitement of stardom, the excitement of praise. I may have joined a little late in life in the film industry, so kind of helps me not to get too excited of what's going to be. Tomorrow it's going to be my day. No. Today is your day. If you made the film or you performed the way you wanted to, or intended to, or worked towards, you've done your job, and let's just go home and go to sleep.
But there must be some role that's your own personal favorite. Sometimes I'm told it's Khosla Ka Ghosla. Is that correct?
It's absolutely right.
Why?
Because nobody thought I could do it. They thought I'd ruin the film. And I had a great responsibility. One guy.
Why did they think you couldn't do that role?
Parsi from Bombay, Khurana from Delhi. Never met a Khurana in my life. Not spent more than 3 days in my life before that when in Delhi. Right? And I had to go and stay there, live, hang out, meet people, do recordings, do a hell of a lot of research. Again, Sudhir Joshi's words was, stop only worrying about the accent and the body language. What's he all about? What's he all about? What is his drive? What does he want out of life? So let's put that aside, but let's get the externals right first. One guy met me in Delhi, and he was an actor. I says, something very wrong has happened. I said, what? Saying, I gave an amazing audition for the role of Khurana. I said, yeah. Saying, it was really, really brilliant. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. Saying, what sorry? Saying, you're a Parsi from Bombay. Imagine I come to Bombay and do a nice plump Parsi role, being a Punjabi from here, from Delhi. How would you like it? I said, you're bang on right. But that's what acting is all about, pretending to be somebody else. And I said, you're right. And I'm really sorry I got the role. I wasn't even a name to have gotten the role. People had seen Let's Talk and gave me the role. Let's Talk, a film that nobody saw. And saying, Mr. Khed, honest enough to say that even I didn't think that you would pull it off. And that scared me. He told me after I met him, dressed up as Khurana and talking like Khurana. He's saying, wow, you're kind of nailing it. I'm so relieved. So I told that guy, how did your audition go? Can you do your audition for me? I said, tell me more about Khurana. What does he think he's thinking? And I used him rather than get upset with him. So for me, it was a great achievement to step out of a character that stepped out of Bombay. It was not just me, the actor who stepped out of Bombay to do my first acting job. I had never done a character that did not live in Mumbai.
Wow. But that's, I think, when it's really good acting. If you're playing somebody who's very dissimilar to who you are.
You are playing somebody who's dissimilar to you all the time. Not just ethnically. All the time. If I'm playing a Parsi living in Dadar, where we are right now, he's not I.
You mean you're not like Virus in real life?
Okay, virus, I'll give you that.
All right, fine. Okay, any role that you ever turned down and then you eventually regretted bitterly?
So there was one role which I didn't turn down. I wanted to do very badly, but I could not give them the dates. And it turned out to be a beautiful movie. And Anu Kapoor did an amazing job. And I'm saying, thank God I didn't get the role because Anu Kapoor did very well. It was the character of the doctor in Vicky Donor. That came to me, and I'm so happy Anu Kapoor did just an amazing job, and he won all the awards that year. It was brilliant. So I really don't feel, I'm not, man, full of regrets, man. No, Vikram, sorry to disappoint you.
So what are the sort of, you are, of course, still continuing to act in addition to the directing. What are the sort of roles that you're now really looking for more and more? I'm eventually working myself up to trying to figure out what you're going to do when you're 105. We'll come to that in a couple of minutes.
Beg your pardon. I don't look out for roles, honestly. Because the moment you're looking out for a role, then what you're saying is, I'm looking out for a corner on the stage that will display my acting talent. I'm looking out for stories. Good movies and good screenplays. They're difficult to get. But if you are doing a tremendous job, performance, great performance, in a movie that nobody likes, nobody will pay attention. No one is paying attention to a good performance in a bad movie. And you say, the work that's gone into that, my God, tremendous. It's of no value. It's not about a hit movie. I'm talking about a good movie, because only if you're engaged in a good movie are you paying attention. Are you following? You're following the four corners in the center of the screen to look for detail, including performances, including nuance. But if it's not a good film, you're saying, okay. All right. So even if the role is a small role and the movie is great, people will be paying attention. So I think movies that say something, that there's a story underneath the main story, I'm looking out for that. When you think about it, Khosla Ka Ghosla, I didn't go out looking for a guy who is a builder, a land-grabbing estate agent in Delhi. That's the role I'm going to play. No, it's the story. Without the story, nobody's going to be paying attention to Khurana ever again. Imagine if Virus, which people seem to like many, many years later too, was in a terrible film. It would be the worst performance that you'd ever see.
Yeah, it was an exceptional film as well. So that really did stick out.
You just start paying attention and you start liking the guy. Then you start rooting for the guy. Then you start hating with the guy. Then you start rooting for the guy. Then you say, thank God. And everybody feels... It's not about just the acting. It's about how do people connect to a story.
Okay, so that connection to the story, is that the reason why you suddenly decide to become a director? Because typically people say, okay, I'm going to now get into directing. And it's normally when they're in their 40s-ish when you got into acting. In their 60s, you suddenly decide to become a director. What brought that on? And tell us a little bit about your experience in Mehta Boys.
I wanted to start becoming a director in the 12s.
Did you?
Ever since I was a kid, I knew at some stage in my life I would be a director.
But then why wait till your 60s? Because you would have had
Because I think I had to go through the whole thing. Photography, theater, blocking, drama, text, understanding stories, and writing. So when I finally decided, and I had family was comfortable enough for me to make the change, I said, let's start writing. So I didn't start thinking I'll be a director in my 60s or even 50s. I want to be a director in my 12s and my 14s. There's no question about it. But when I did decide to be a director, I had read an interview of Steven Spielberg. He said, if ever you want to direct, you must learn how to write first. So I decided to learn how to write and do the long haul, the long route to get there. And I read every book that needed to be read, and I attended some workshops on writing. It was not converting itself into a screenplay that I would be happy with. I met a friend of mine. No, he wasn't a friend. He just met me. in New York outside NYU. And I told him my story. And he says, yeah, I'll help you write this. I made him my guru. He didn't even know he was going to be my guru. I just made him my guru. And he's so passionate about writing and the techniques that go into it, the science. And of course,
you're talking about Alexander.
We're talking about Alexander Dinner Hours.
And this was before he became famous with Birdman.
Yes. And Birdman, he brushed aside. He said, yeah. I didn't even know the name of that film. I said, what have you written? He said, I've written a movie for Alejandro Iñárritu, 2-time Oscar winner. I mean, subsequently 2-time Oscar winner, not even. And it's an art house film. That's how he described it. It's an art house film. And these are his very words. It'll come and it'll go. I said, okay, doesn't matter. You are the man, a man after my heart. You know my story. I narrated it to you in story form. We need to put it into scenes. And then I continued, sending him scenes, and a couple of times went to New York and sat with him for a week each. And then he went and won an Oscar. And I said, that's the end of this friendship, because now he won't have time for me. Strangely, he found more time for me. He said, that story, what's happening with it? I really loved that story about the father and son. Why don't you come out and we'll sit again with it? And we started rewriting. Writing is rewriting. You've heard that phrase before. Yeah. Rewriting till we started pitching it and to people who didn't fall for it. And that's fair.
So when was this that you were pitching?
About 5 years ago, 7 years ago. Right? And then, of course...
So you were established and you were pitching it and people were still not...
Sure. And I don't take offense. It's your money, man. And you may not like the story. You may think it might lose you money. That's fair enough. I am way beyond the age where I get offended. No, it's their money and they know what they're looking for in their life. But I knew what I was looking for. I needed to make this movie. I had to make this movie. Whatever it took. Finally, Aparna, Aparna Purohit. She said, so she had told me during Well Done Abba, if you ever make a movie, and I think you should direct a film. And she was a production assistant at that point in time. I'd love to work with you. But then, So she meets me one day and said, remember that story you narrated to me during Well Done Abba? During Well Done Abba. Would you like to make it? I said, yeah, of course. Saying, we'll do it together for Amazon Prime. I said, yeah, okay, let's do it. And I knew that serendipitously it was meant to be with Aparna, because she had told me, when you work, we'll work together. But now she's working as films chief at Amazon Prime. And she backed the story. And then we rewrote, and we shot the film.
The story on the relationship between a father and a son in those 48 hours that they are spending together must have been a sensitive subject for you, of course, because, I don't want to get back into the childhood, but
say it. Yeah, no, because I never known what a father is. Right?
So was that a sensitive story for you?
Not sensitive. It's a story of discovery in many ways. What would it have been? But I'm also a father of 2 young, strapping boys. So in that sense, the equation works in from all angles. And eventually, I would like to believe that it's not just a story about a father and a son. It's about a father and a daughter, or a mother and a daughter, or a mother and a son. Or 2 people who just can't see eye to eye. It could be a husband and a wife. What is it? Getting to the heart of it. When 2 people aren't compatible, what's it? Is it you go for therapy? What is it that you do? You try and make some changes within you. What is the dynamic that makes 2 people feel a little more compatible? That's the story. And in this particular case, it has got to do with the old and the new. And the old is the old man who's retired, loses his wife, loses his house, loses his everything. Put him. The first rule of putting your protagonist, the first rule is put him in the place that he'd least want to be. The moment you do that, you're going to make him feel uncomfortable in both characters where they least want to be. And they cross paths when he's becoming a man and he's losing his manhood. And that's where they meet. But the incompatibility has got everything to do with people's egos. It's nothing else. You could apply it to any relationship that you may have had with your best friend, and the best friend suddenly... there was a beautiful film which I'd recommend, The Banshees of Inisherin. Two friends in some Irish little corner of the world where they say, we can't be friends anymore.
There was one metaphor in that film that I thought was just so apt for a father-son relationship, which is the handbrake, right? The handbrake metaphor, because I'm sure you must have had, as a father with a son, had that same thing, that there are times when you are playing around with that handbrake in your own mind, either to stop your son from doing something that you don't think he should, or just to slow him down, or to get him to change direction, or all of the above. Was that a well thought out metaphor for that?
Absolutely. And so strange that today in Spiral Bound, in the classes that I run, which you said we'll talk about, that's the scene we discussed. We broke it down. It's so strange you mention it. But I think that it is a metaphor, not about you're not driving well, or I don't approve your driving. It makes me uncomfortable. It is about control.
Yeah.
And that thing is, I'm going to control you as much as I can. You can pluck my hand off the thing, and I'm going to take it back because I'm your bloody father. So, okay. Yeah. He's not one of those typical patriarchs, but he's saying, no, I don't want you to control me. And the scene ends up with the relationship literally and metaphorically spinning out of control when you have so much of attrition, right? And it spins out of control, and the lines that come out of that scene are, this is my car, which sticks in everyone. This is my car. I've been driving it for the past 10 years without your hand on the handbrake, and I'm still alive. Which is telling your father that I don't need you anymore. So it's not about a handbrake, as you said, all of the above, and then you very correctly mentioned metaphor. It is about control. Stop controlling me. And I think all fathers should understand that. And all sons should say, if he wants to hang on to the handbrake, ignore it. Why do you get ignored? Because in the last scene of the film, when he's driving to the bloody airport, he's still holding the handbrake in his hand. You know what I mean? I mean, let it be. You've got to accept people for who they are. You can't change people. All you can change is diminish your ego to a point where you can meet some kind of commonality, some common ground. So thank you for making a mention of that.
So it's interesting, that question of control. I mean, seeing as your son Kayo is now directing a film, almost at the same time as you. So it's actually quite interesting. Who was giving advice?
Oh, he gives all the advice.
Did you ever look at him and say, take your hand off the handbrake?
Non-metaphorically? Yes. Because our level of discomfort and driving style is very different. You may say, no, I'm doing only 40. No, but that 40 is making me uncomfortable. It may be great for you, it's not great for me. So we do, and they're good drivers. But you still drive the way I drive, like a whole bloody Parsi. It's not going to happen. It's not that they're driving rashly. But coming back to Kayoze, well, I'm amazed at the way he's stuck to his guns and making his debut. And there's lots to learn from him. As there's lots to learn from Danish, who sometimes sits me down, sets me straight, and what do you, come on, man. Get on, It's good to listen. It's good to listen to your boys, because they are not boys anymore.
Yeah.
They are men. And you've got to respect that. You say, how dare you talk to me like that? No, they're not being rude. They're giving you advice that you deserve, like you've been giving them advice that they've deserved all their bloody lives.
Yeah, my youngest son's just got his driving license, and I'm not dared to go in the car with him because I may well be grabbing the handbrake.
No,
So,
but they aren't rough drivers. It's just that their definition of driving is very different from yours.
yeah. But that part about starting to take advice. So,
Right.
is that an interesting time right now when you're saying, I'm directing this, you're directing a film virtually the same time as I'm working
And I went
on
to
it?
him for advice.
And you did.
Of course.
And that was good advice.
Absolutely. Absolutely spot on. Don't react to this. Don't react to this. You're fine. Because the world that he's operating out of is probably far more, is in the thick of it. So you got to listen. You have to listen. Where does he, again, what comes into play over here is ego. And that's what Mehta Voice is all about. Two men with egos.
So, talking about family, let's talk about broader community. I mean, you often wear your Parsi identity very much on your sleeve. You're saying being a Parsi is what taught you a lot about humor, about community, about storytelling. Share some of those stories with us.
I think the first thing that I know about Parsis is they have a sense of humor, and they do love to live a nice, full life with travel and food and family and friends and gatherings and noise and I think that's beautiful. Also, what we have to pay attention to is the legacy of some great men. Not that you can live up to that legacy, but you have to contribute to, in a small way, to the continuum of it. I mean, you can name some 25 names will come up out of the hat right now. Whether it's, JRD or Ratan Tata or Homi Bhabha or Sam Bahadur Manekshaw, Farooq Udwadhya, the great physician. And those names don't stop. And you turn around and say, Soli Sorabji. They all come from a very, very small community, 65,000 left on this planet. And you turn around and say, we've got to make sure we don't sully that legacy. Where we live in Parsi colony, or people in Kushu Bagh or Rustum Bagh, I don't know if you're familiar with these baghs in Bombay, Parsi. I mean, look at those places where they've built the hospitals, from a JJ to a Masina. I mean, that's all Parsi philanthropy. So what are we doing to keep that legacy alive? If you don't have the wherewithal to put in a little diamond stud in that legacy, then at least don't destroy it. And be grateful for what we have because of that legacy, including a reputation. We get away with a lot of things. Parsi hai to acha hoga. Parsi gaadi hai to acha gaadi hoga. Parsi gaadi ko aur premium milta hai. If it's a Parsi owned, single Parsi owned car, I want that car. You know what I'm saying? As a second sale. So that's a legacy. You've got to live up to it. I'm very proud of that legacy. I have done nothing. It's a few hundred years of people, from Firoz Shah Mehta, you name it. People of that caliber who have built that legacy.
Well, you've also done your bit to keep that legacy going forward. And you're doing a bit to keep lots of legacies going forward, which brings me to mentorship, which is one of the things that you're doing. And you're doing it with Spiral Bound, you're doing it in a very structured manner, and in an area which is, you're not having acting classes, which somebody would have thought, Boman Irani, he's wanting to mentor people, he'll be doing it in acting. You're doing it in script writing. What made you think of that?
So there are so many youngsters who would like to be directors or writers and even actors. I think it's good to learn script writing. As I said before, what Steven Spielberg had said a little earlier. Now, for me let me be very honest. The film industry has been really kind to me. Really, really kind to me. When I first did Munna Bhai, it was the stalwarts from Nasruddin Shah, Anupam Kher, Paresh Rawal, Amrish Puri. They welcomed me with open arms, saying, my God, maza aayega, we must work together, we'll have fun. And I'm saying to myself, isn't that beautiful? That an actor is welcoming an actor, even if it might mean that one of my roles will go to this Johnny come lately, if you know what I'm saying. Apart from that, producers, directors, younger actors, musicians, I have gotten whatever I have as a reputation and as a body of work, thanks to the industry who've been very kind.
So, what is your advice to a young person trying to break in, a person selling chips like you once were, and saying, okay, I want to break in? Because everyone has that dream. But what would you tell them right now to do?
I think to take it very seriously as a profession rather than looking at what Sudhir Joshi said. Those are externals. Yes, work on the externals. And you know what I mean by externals. You know, your body and your face and your hair and your ribs, or I mean, not ribs, your whatever they are called.
Abs.
Six packs, yeah. Fine. But why does somebody a 3-year course at NSD, right? Radha, I think, is a 4-year course, 4 or 5-year course. I mean, you can be a doctor in 5 years. So what does it take? What are you doing for 5 years? You are doing something that's very, very deep. Uta Hagen, if I'm not mistaken, one of the great acting teachers, says, it'll take you 17 or 18 years to become a real actor. It's not as easy as you think it is. Because every day you go to the set and playing somebody saying, now you are not this guy, you are this guy with mental issues, or a guy with rage issues, or a guy who's an introvert who needs to become an extrovert. I mean, that's not you.
So you learn to become
there's
that
a
person.
craft, and it starts from the text. So when you speak of, when you mention Spiral Bound, I feel that's where it all emanates from.
So the fact that you're doing Spiral Bound and teaching people about script writing, is it also to say, remember the story, remember the art of storytelling? Because even as an actor, that's what you're trying to become.
Everything is done sporadically on a set. You go there and you're shooting probably the first day is the 75th page. And the 5th page could be page could be the 90th page, the 5th day. And the last day could be the opening scene. You got to graph yourself. You have to understand that there's a structure to a story. There's a structure to a performance. We call them character arcs or whatever it is. You can't scream and shout in the opening scene and do high drama the moment the camera turns on, right? You should know how to graph. So I think the script itself, and believe me, we have at Spiral Bound, we have actors, production designers, choreographers, because that's also storytelling, who sit there, come every single day, and of course, screenplay writers and producers. Most heartening is so many producers come to class. They should know which is a well-structured story with a narrative which has a theme that thrusts your narrative forward.
Right. Boman Irani at 85 and 105.
I'm 85 already now. Suddenly, what happened?
No, coming
Such
up.
a long interview.
I'm
What the hell is going on here?
at your bucket list for the next 40 years or 60 years. What's left on your bucket list?
I need to make a few more movies, write and mentor. I just want to say something without me sounding like a nice guy, but I just want to put it out there. Anyone's free to come to Spiral Bound. There are no entrance tests. There is no fee. There is nothing. I just wanted to encourage that because I'm sorry I had to put that in.
No, I'm glad you're here. Anybody
now, so for me, the next 5 to 7 years, 10 years, at least 3 more films from my heart and soul, and to create a generation of writers that can go out there, make your films, sell your scripts. You want to do with the Irani movie tone, you're most welcome. You don't even have to come to me. It's for first refusals. It's perfectly okay. It's your life. I don't expect anything. Again, don't set yourself up for disappointment. I mentioned that a little earlier. So yes, I'd like to do a few films as writer and director. And then set up some kind of movement that writing becomes a very, very important aspect. It's already underway, but now structure it in a big way. Big way. So we train not writers, we train writing teachers.
Okay.
And have a proper structured school. That's one of my dreams. And there's so many other things that one can do creatively. Music,
Music.
Hi.
That's interesting. That
Music.
I'm waiting for, but that you haven't done yet. All right, I'm gonna end with a rapid fire round now.
Oh,
right? So
boy,
we
oh,
are
boy.
as we end this quick rapid fire round.
Go for it.
If you had to make a comedy heist movie, whom would you cast and why?
Comedy heist movie. Whom would I cast?
Other than yourself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, we'll let you think
I would regroup my buddies from Happy New Year when we came and met you, Shahrukh and Sonu and it would be great.
Deepika.
Yeah, that was a comedy heist movie.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
It was
I was just thinking about
yeah,
that.
because
That's right.
I had the greatest time on that film.
All right.
Oh,
so
I had
that's
the
okay.
greatest time.
Okay, rapid fire, more of them. The most Parsi thing about you.
I don't like being alone.
Ever.
So suppose somebody has to come to the room, make sure if I'm in a tucked in, go over, leave some lights on. I don't like being alone.
Okay, that's interesting. Who gave you the most useful advice in your career?
I think Amrish Puri.
What was it?
He called me on a flight, saying, you did great in Munna Bhai, but don't get typecast. They'll give you roles just exactly the same thing. Same but different, same but different, same but different. But just let the actor in you grow. Don't get typecast.
Another skill you'd like to add to your resume?
Music.
Singing or playing an instrument?
Singing, I sing regularly on stage, by the way.
Yeah.
Regularly. I do corporate speaking. I do an hour and a half of corporate speaking at the end of the show, whether they like it or not, I sing a song. So I sing. I'd like to learn an instrument better. I do play an instrument, but I'd like to be a master of it. And then eventually maybe even compose music. It's a dream. It's a pipe dream.
All right. A talent from the younger generation you're excited about?
There's a whole bunch of, I think, Rajkumar Rao, good lad. Ranbir, good guy. Very good.
A director you're hoping to hear from?
I'm a big fan of Steven Spielberg. I've worked with most of the directors in this country. I'm a big fan of Steven Spielberg.
Okay, Steven Spielberg, you're watching this, no doubt. You watch the India Story every week, so do remember to.
He does, doesn't he?
Of course.
He talks about you every single day. I met him,
time.
he said that Vikram.
Yeah, I know.
That Vikram, I tell you.
What's scarier, stage fright or a blank page?
A blank page. Stage fright. No. Stage fright, nervousness is good, but fright, no, I don't have stage fright.
Your biggest fear when you went on set as a director?
Strangely, I did not have any fear. I was so excited because it's like saying if all my life I want to go to Disneyland and then suddenly I get scared. That's ridiculous. You know what you're getting for.
A lot of people want to go to Disneyland and still get scared the first time somebody shows them.
But if you've seen all those roller coasters and you're saying, no, this is what you signed up for all your life. You better enjoy it and don't scream on the set.
Okay, one myth about the Mumbai film industry that you want to bust.
That you need to know someone to get in.
You don't need to know someone to get in.
Of course not. Of course not. Who did I know in the Mumbai film industry? Nobody.
Boman Irani, thank you so much for
joining us. What a pleasure, Vikram.
Thank you so much.
What a pleasure. Thank you for having me, sir. Hi, everyone. This is Boman Irani, and watch my interview on the India Story podcast with the one and only Vikram Chandra on Hook.